She didn't knock. The bathroom door slammed open so hard the frame cracked, and there stood Vanessa Lockwood, pearls swinging, clipboard raised like a royal scepter, clamping her manicured claws around my daughter Mia's wrist. Steam poured into the hallway like a smoke signal for war. Mia screamed, water still cascading, towel nowhere in sight. Excessive usage during drought restrictions. Vanessa announced, voice sugary sweet like she was announcing a bake sale. You'll pay triple fines until you learn community sacrifice, darling. My 16-year-old stood there naked, shaking, while the HOA president of Sunnyvale Estates looked proud. Like this was normal. Like this was winning. I stepped out of the bedroom, heart hammering but voice ice calm, fingers brushing the tiny recorder in my pocket that had been rolling since the first rumor she spread about me last year. Vanessa, I said quietly, you should probably know those master keys you illegally copied for the whole board? They're already logged as evidence. Her Botox smile flickered for half a second, the first crack in the porcelain mask. She blinked, recovered, and marched out like she still owned the sidewalk. But I saw it. The tiny flash of panic. The moment she realized the quiet dad she'd spent a year painting as that creepy photographer who spies on everyone wasn't playing by her rules anymore. My name is Jordan Hale. Freelance photographer. Widower. The guy the neighborhood whispered about after Vanessa's last smear campaign. He's always taking pictures, probably selling them online or something. They believed her. They crossed the street when I walked my dog. But I never fought back. Not then. I just smiled, nodded, and started installing cameras. Everywhere. Because patience isn't weakness. It's a loaded gun with the safety off. That bathroom wasn't just any bathroom. It was the one Mia and her mom painted soft lavender the summer before cancer took her. The chipped soap dish still sat exactly where Emily left it. The lavender towels were Mia's last connection to the woman who used to sing off-key while blow-drying her hair. Vanessa had just ripped the last safe place in our house wide open and called it enforcement. I held Mia while she sobbed into my shirt, water pooling on the tile, and something inside me clicked into place. Not rage. Clarity. This wasn't about one shower. This was about every absurd rule Vanessa had weaponized for 3 years. The beige-only garage doors, the no hummingbird feeder ordinance because they attract pests, the weekly lawn height inspections with her little measuring tape like she was God's personal barber. People paid the fines because fighting cost more. Until now. She left that night still jangling her illegal keys, certain she'd scared us straight. She didn't know the cameras in the hallway had captured every second in 4K. She didn't know the recorder in my pocket had her voice admitting she copied the keys for efficiency. And she definitely didn't know that Leonard Brooks, the nervous treasurer who always looked like he was one wrong glance away from a panic attack, had already slipped me the first email chain 2 weeks earlier. The one where Vanessa wrote, duplicate masters for everyone. Tell residents it's emergency maintenance if they ask. We own this neighborhood. The next morning the flyers appeared. Bright yellow, stuffed in every mailbox on Maple Lane. Repeat water wasters at 1422 OAK. Fines incoming for the greater good. No mention of the bathroom. No mention of my naked daughter. Just a smiling photo of Vanessa at the top with the caption, protecting our desert oasis. Neighbors glanced at me over their coffee mugs, then looked away fast. Same way they had when she called me a peeping Tom last summer. But this time I didn't look down. I waved. Friendly. Like I was the crazy one. That evening I took a slow walk to the community pool, Vanessa's favorite stage. Sunset painted everything gold, kids splashing, parents pretending to relax, while secretly terrified of the next citation. The second I stepped onto the deck, the chatter died. Vanessa arrived like clockwork, heels clicking, smile stretched, so tight you could see the strings. Jordan, sweetheart, she called loud enough for the entire zip code. I hope you understand these rules aren't personal. We're all sacrificing for conservation. Think of the polar bears. She actually said polar bears. In Arizona. I let her finish her little TED talk. Then I spoke, voice carrying across the water like a stone skipping perfectly. Funny thing about sacrifice, Vanessa. It usually doesn't involve breaking into someone's house with copied master keys and traumatizing a child. Plastic cups froze mid-sip. A kid stopped mid-cannonball. Vanessa's laugh came out like a hiccup. Oh honey, that's just a wild exaggeration. No one believes, But they did. I saw it in the eyes. The slow shift. The way mothers pulled kids closer. The way old Mr. Ramirez from 1408 actually nodded once before catching himself. For the first time in 3 years, her spell cracked in public. I walked home feeling the neighborhood tilt under my feet. Not victory yet. Just the first domino. Mia was waiting on the porch beside the little stone bird bath her mom loved. The one Vanessa had tried to fine us over twice because it encourages loitering wildlife. She touched the water with one finger. She's never going to stop, Dad. I sat beside her. She doesn't have to stop. We just have to make sure everyone sees what stopping her really costs. The silence after the pool night felt electric. People still avoided my eyes at the mailbox, but text chains were buzzing. I could feel it. Vanessa doubled down the next day with 3 new violation notices taped to my door like wanted posters. Bird bath again, wildflowers Mia planted along the fence, unauthorized biodiversity, and a noise complaint for 3 a.m. that nobody filed. Triple fines. Final warning before legal action. She wanted a spectacle. I gave her silence and started walking to the county records office instead. The clerk there knew me from the old days when I photographed property disputes for the paper. She pulled the thick binders without asking questions. Sunnyvale Estates, HOA bylaws, page after page of Vanessa's signature. Except the notarizations were missing. The authority for home inspections never existed. The water restriction enforcement clause, signed by a board member who'd moved to Florida 2 years ago. The whole empire was built on paper thinner than her fake smile. I sat under the buzzing fluorescence and smiled for the first time in weeks. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One attachment, a photo of an email from Vanessa to the board. Master keys distributed. If anyone complains, remind them we're the law here. No signature. But I knew who sent it. Leonard. The man whose shoulders had been slowly folding under her weight for years. That night, I met him at the community maintenance shed behind the tennis courts. Dusty, forgotten, exactly where Vanessa would never lower herself to go. He was already pacing when I arrived, briefcase clutched like a life raft. Sweat beaded on his bald head, even though the desert night was cool. Jordan, I can't keep watching her do this, he whispered, thrusting the case at me like it burned. Inside, printed emails, financial ledgers, locksmith receipts signed in her looping handwriting. Thousands in fines rerouted to an account labeled Community Enhancement that somehow paid for her monthly board retreats in Sedona. Spa days. Wine tastings. While the pool fund stayed empty and kids swam in algae. She told us it was legal, Leonard said, voice cracking. Said if we questioned her, she'd bury us in violations until our houses were worth nothing. But what she did to Mia, that's not a violation. That's evil. I closed the briefcase gently. You're not evil, Leonard. You're the guy who finally chose not to be. He looked at me like I'd handed him absolution. Then he drove away before he could change his mind. Back on the porch, Mia traced the bird bath again. Does this mean she can't come back? I told her the truth. She never had the right to come in the first place. The water trickled softly, steady and defiant. For the first time since Emily died, our house felt like ours again. And Vanessa? She had no idea the quiet dad she'd slandered for a year had just been handed the keys to her kingdom and the match to burn it down. The foreclosure notices hit like a slap the next afternoon, bright orange, taped across my garage door in full view of every lawn on the block. Final proceedings pending. HOA lien enforcement. Neighbors slowed their evening walks, eyes wide, pretending not to stare. I ripped them down, crumpled them into balls, and felt the last polite restraint snap. This wasn't civil anymore. This was intimidation with official-looking stamps. Criminal. Exactly what I needed. Instead of calling her bluff, I walked straight to the little diner outside the gates. Neutral ground, greasy fries, no HOA spies. Within 20 minutes, 3 neighbors slid into nearby booths like they were just grabbing coffee. Mrs. Patel from 1405 finally scooted her chair over, napkin twisted to shreds in her hands. She fined me $400 last month because my basil was the wrong shade of green. Basil, Jordan. I didn't fight. But what she did to Mia, her voice broke. Mr. Ramirez joined next, then the young couple from the corner house. Stories spilled out like water from a broken dam. Fines for Christmas lights visible before Thanksgiving, threats over a kid's lemonade stand because commercial activity, warnings for leaving a bicycle on the lawn more than 30 minutes. Each one more ridiculous than the last. I laid the courthouse papers on the table between us. Missing seals. Expired signatures. The bylaws that never gave her permission to set foot inside any private home. Then I played Leonard's leaked video on my phone. Vanessa handing out shiny new master keys outside the office, voice crystal clear. No one questions us while I'm in charge. Tell them it's for their own good. Forks froze. Mrs. Patel's eyes filled with tears that quickly turned to fire. She's been stealing from us, I said quietly. Every fine you paid went to her spa days. Not the pool. Not the roads. Her highlights. The diner went dead silent. Then the anger started, low at first, then building like thunder. For the first time they weren't scared. They were furious. I didn't ask for a mob. I asked for witnesses. We do this together, in public, with cameras rolling. She can't spin it if the whole neighborhood sees. Leonard's next text came at midnight. One line, I'll speak if you call the meeting. Can't live like this anymore. The trap was set. I posted the notice on the community board the next morning. Special transparency session requested by homeowner. Financial review and bylaw compliance. According to the very rules Vanessa loved to quote, she couldn't refuse. By evening, every mailbox had a copy. She was cornered and she knew it. The night before the meeting, Mia sat beside me on the porch again, holding the little maintenance log we'd kept for the bird bath. Every drop measured, every cleaning noted. She always said this thing wasted water, Mia whispered. But we proved it didn't. Take it tomorrow. Make them see she lied about everything. I tucked the log into the growing black case with everything else. The 4K footage of the bathroom invasion, the forged documents, Leonard's signed statement, the financial transfers. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was surgery. I was going to cut the cancer out in front of everyone who'd ever been afraid to speak up. Vanessa arrived at the community center the next night like she was walking a runway. Heels, power suit, smile dialed to 11. The room was packed. Folding chairs scraped, phones already recording. She took the center seat behind the long table, board members flanking her like nervous ducklings. Leonard sat at the far end, shoulders still hunched, but eyes steady for the first time in years. Vanessa tapped the microphone. This little circus was called under false pretenses, she purred. But we'll clear up these silly rumors quickly so we can get back to actual community work. I stood before she could finish. The room went graveyard quiet. I lifted the bylaws first, yellow tabs glowing under the lights. These documents prove the board never had authority to enter private homes. Yet you did. You dragged my daughter out of the shower like a criminal over a rule that doesn't exist on paper. Gasps rippled. Vanessa's hand slammed the table. Slander. This is a vendetta from a man who was already warned about his behavior. I slid the locksmith invoices across the table so everyone could see her signature. Then explained the 200 duplicate master keys you ordered and handed out like candy. Emergency maintenance? Or intimidation? Murmurs turned to angry whispers. Leonard rose slowly. His voice shook at first, but grew stronger with every word. She ordered them. She told us to use them on anyone who resisted. She moved fine money into her personal accounts. I have the transfers. I stayed quiet too long because I was scared. But I'm done. Vanessa's face drained of color. Sit down, Leonard. You'll regret this. But the room had already turned. Phones rose higher. Voices overlapped. Step down. Thief. You touched a child. I opened the black case and hit play. The video projected huge on the back wall. Vanessa in the parking lot. Keys glinting. Voice booming through the speakers. No one questions us while I'm in charge. The reaction was instant. Chairs scraped back. People stood. A woman near the front started crying. That's my house you're talking about. Chaos swelled. Vanessa pounded the table, screaming over the noise, but her performance was broken. The queen had no clothes, and everyone saw it. I slipped out the side door while the shouting peaked and sent the text I'd been waiting to send all night. Captain Ruiz answered in under 2 minutes. Units rolling. This wasn't my badge. I wasn't a cop, but the evidence was so airtight the department had opened a file the second I walked in with Leonard's briefcase. Unlawful entry. Fraud. Embezzlement. Criminal intimidation. The kind of charges that don't get settled with a fine and a smile. Headlights swept the parking lot. 2 cruisers, one unmarked. Officers moved fast but calm. Ruiz met me at the edge of the park across the street, jaw set. You ready? I looked back through the glass walls where Vanessa was still trying to shout down the mob. Been ready since she put her hands on my daughter. They entered through the front. The shouting inside cut off like someone hit mute. Then rose again in confusion. Vanessa stood, clipboard raised like a shield. This is a private meeting. You have no jurisdiction. Ruiz's voice carried clear and flat. Vanessa Lockwood, you are under arrest for unlawful entry, harassment, misuse of funds, and unauthorized distribution of master keys. Come with us. Handcuffs clicked. The sound echoed like a gavel. Vanessa's eyes found mine through the glass. Pure hatred. But underneath it, real fear. The kind that comes when the spotlight you craved finally shows the monster underneath. Neighbors poured into the parking lot, phones up, recording every step as officers walked her out. She tried one last performance. This is political persecution. I built this community. Someone in the crowd actually laughed. You built a prison, Vanessa. We just opened the gates. The next morning, the community center felt lighter. No clipboard queen. No measuring tape Gestapo. The remaining board members sat at the table looking like they'd been deflated overnight. Leonard sat apart, posture straighter. Captain Ruiz opened the session officially this time. Transparency under lawful oversight. I stepped to the mic with the full file box. I projected the missing seals, the expired signatures, the bank transfers. Every violation letter anyone ever received was suddenly worthless. The room erupted again, not with fear, but with years of bottled rage finally finding air. People shouted their stories. Fines for birthday balloons. Threats over holiday wreaths. One woman held up a picture of her late mother's garden that Vanessa had forced her to rip out. The anger was raw, cleansing. Leonard stood again. I sat on that board and signed papers I knew were wrong. I'm sorry, but everything Jordan showed you is true. The chant started soft then grew. Resign. Resign. The board members couldn't get the words out fast enough. They voted themselves out on the spot. Then I put the final question to the room. Do we keep this HOA at all? Ballots flew. The count wasn't even close. 98% dissolved. Effective immediately. The room exploded. People hugged. Mrs. Patel actually kissed my cheek. Mia slipped her hand into mine, eyes shining. Mom would have loved this, she whispered, looking at the birdbath photo I'd enlarged and set beside the evidence. The little stone basin that started it all now symbolized everything we'd fought for. Not rules, but the right to live without fear. I stepped back to the mic one last time as the cheering settled. What happened here isn't just our story. It's a warning to every HOA board that thinks they can turn neighbors into subjects. The law is bigger than your clipboard, and communities are stronger than your fear. The applause shook the rafters. Leonard walked over and shook my hand. No more hunched shoulders. Thank you, he said simply. Outside, the desert sun felt warmer. No more yellow flyers. No more measuring tapes. Just people waving, smiling, finally free. So tell me, folks, was I the troublemaker for refusing to stay silent, or was Vanessa just doing her job, protecting the neighborhood the only way she knew how? Drop your honest vote in the comments right now. Team Jordan or Team Karen? Who was really the villain here?